The story behind this, my presentation is that I had to give a presentation or explain to my management what I'm going to do before retirement. And they can't ask me direct that are you going to retire, but they can ask in a fashion that I have to do. And then I told them something what I have been doing and what I'm suggesting that I might do the next years. And then I got an idea that I give a presentation in APL meeting in which I show them the code what I'm going to do. And that was funny till Morten was in that meeting, and he said that what about if you give the same presentation in here? I said, okay, no problem, in Finnish. But yeah, so this is what I got together. So this is something, not everything is not still up and running, and more or less it's in a process, but I call it the concept of a plan. Might explain quite a lot. So here's a word from my sponsor. A couple of things which you might notice here is that this figure is really good for us, because most of the people in Finland trust the data we are producing and showing. I think that was one of the highest in the whole world. So Finland is 7 years in suggestion we are the happiest country in the world, and 3 years in succession Statistics Finland has been chosen as the best statistical office in the world. So I have a quite pressure here, so I'm going to retire. So first, what I'm going to tell you, you need to some basic knowledge about the concepts I'm talking about. And I'm talking about PX word and PX terminology, so it needs to be explained a little bit further. So what we are having, and many statistical offices nowadays use, and other organizations as well, they use the thing called PxWeb, which is a dissemination tool, dissemination service, which is easy to install, cheap to use because it's open source, and it comes from two flavors. Either it uses the relational database, very complicated stuff, or file-based collection of tables, which means that files and directories are used as a genuine database. And it's originated from Statistics Sweden, but nowadays used in Nordic countries and all around the world. And the other concept, this file-based collection of tables, uses PCX's files, so-called PX files, and they are practically text files which contain both statistical data and metadata. And the metadata is given, it dates back to the 80s, in which they invented this kind of keyword value pairs. But practically they can be very huge or very small or something in between. And they have certain rules how this metadata is put in, written in, and how different metadata is represented in that file. But the basic idea is that most of the statistical tables are very easy to convert to PX format if you have proper tools. So this for the basics. So part one. It was stormy year 2000, which we were waiting for, the end of the digital world. So those who are old enough remember this thing that everything was going to crash because the crazy people in programming mainframes, they saved a couple of bytes for the dates, and yeah, we were waiting for this end of the world. So in Statistics Finland, we had two then APL-based databases. Another one was the regional database Altika, and the other one was time series database Astika. They dated back from 80s, pretty well working, but we had to move them from mainframe to other environments. I made a temporary client-server application for Astika, which it was in use almost 10 years. being a temporary application, it was quite good result. And the guy called Kimmo Linna, if you go to Dyalog site and look for R connection, I think Kimmo's product is there available. And Kimmo left the office to become a pilot in Finnair, so he left the code for me. And I said, I'm not going to do anything about it. But then Statistical Slovenia started using this product called PxEdit. And suddenly I was very deeply involved with that temporary application. And all of a sudden people started using PxWeb, and there was no competition actually. Okay, there was this one application called PxMake from Denmark, but it has problems with especially memory handling. So I had to develop. I had other work to be done as well. So the Finnish saying is to do something with your left hand. So I tried to fulfill all the needs and trying to push and postpone all the requests and do what they were good. But slowly it became more and more a hobby of me to take care of this PxEdit. And one of the concepts, or one of the basics is that I couldn't trust the environment in different organizations. Some were using even Windows 98, some were using other Windows versions. They were run on Windows servers or whatsoever. And .NET versions were varying and so on. So I tried to make it as pure APL as possible, building everything by myself as much as I could. And there were some points in which I had to reprogram, go deeply in the basics, because first was the memory handling. Nowadays you can get as huge tables as possible. We have been testing with terabytes of data. It gets slower, but quad map is really a lifesaver here. Then I changed everything to Unicode, getting rid of the font hell, then trying to figure out different languages, which character sets they were using in fonts. That went away with Unicode. I'm really pro Unicode in the beginning. And then PX standard was expanded so that the tables can be multilingual, so that we can have different languages and different character sets in one file. So these were the milestones there. And within the process, there seems never time to really sit down and redesign. And remembering that the size of the group doing documentation, programming, Q&I, and other, there was approximately one. So you have to put your priorities somewhere. And sometimes I had this feeling that it works, but it works only because I know where to put the stuff in. So, time has passed. So where are we now? I took this slide from Statistics Sweden's presentation, and these points are only showing the statistical offices that are using PxWeb nowadays. And practically each and every organization is using, except a few countries are using file-based system. And you can imagine which APL-based product is being used in everywhere. For example, 2 weeks ago, I was in Jordan teaching people how to use PxEdit. Never drink tap water in Jordan. So, what has happened during these 25 years, or more or less? So PxEdit has become de facto production tool in the PX world. I'm quite happy that people know me by first name in this small community. Okay, it's a niche product, but still. And there are some important features which are not found in many other products around the PX suite, which is that, for example, I've designed the so-called structural table format in which you can have data and metadata, for example, Excel sheets, and they can be brought in. So people can edit data and metadata in the usually small offices, developing countries and so on. They use Excel that much, so Excel is very, very convenient for them. And then you can enrich metadata, meaning that you can edit, update, and put other metadata to the collection of database, to the files. So they are sort of database features which makes it easier for the people make reports and fixing, trying to find the tables which are not working and so on and so on. And the sister product, which is actually PxEdit without graphical user interface called PxJob, is used for process automation. And there are statistical offices which check each and every PX table that's put in dissemination, so that PxJob is standing there as a guardkeeper, which shall be published, such as Statistics Finland and Statistics Switzerland. And during that time, I have been asked as a consultant. You know, back at home you are a worker, but when you get outside to the foreign countries, you are a consultant. And so I've been able to travel different countries and meeting different people. People are usually pretty nice because they found that this is very usable product. And during the Corona times, we had lots of webinars for different places. These are not the only, this just came to my mind when I was writing these slides. And we have annual PX user meetings. This year in Northern Macedonia, next year in Helsinki. Welcome there if you are not coming to Dialog conferences. So this is the surface, but what lies under the PxEdit code? So approximately, depending how you count functions, if you count sub-functions, there are approximately 1,000 functions and operators, pretty much of lines of code, and I didn't count, for example, comments and end if clauses. And you can see if you go to the use base, the code base now, you can see that what kind of programming habits I have during the years. And of course, comments in Finnish, because I was writing it to myself. It was temporary product, so that there was never idea that anybody would see it. And lots of APL scenes like hard-coded object names and so on. And of course, because it's a very plenty of settings, plenty of fine-tuning that the different organizers need to have, so there are plenty of environment variables and temporary stuff. And even I have problems sometimes rereading my code, so perhaps it's a little bit hard for others as well. And long functions, not to 4,000 lines, but the biggest function is 900 and something. And there's a reason for that, but you are not interested in. So, and most of the stuff lies in the workspace root level. Only when you open a new table, that creates a new namespace in which the collection of the information that's for this table is put there. So it may be hard for an outsider to grasp the underlying logic. And this is, if there were a junior developer, I would tell that. Sadly, there is no. So, and now there's some contradiction. I'm talking about New Hope and start with COVID-19. But there's reason for that, because during the pandemic, it came time for thinking what I shall do next. So I came to the conclusion after testing pretty many things which I had in my backlog, but I didn't have time for before that, what I shall do to make the application to even look more reachable. So it consists of different steps which I have designed. They have to be small ones, and after each step ends with through testing. And remember, I'm doing this for myself nowadays. And lots of things that I have to change in the code without losing the functionality. So sort of fluffing everything, every stuff which is not meant to be there, and you know, old programming things, and there are quite many ideas that I have what I could do, and I'm really waiting for array notation. It might help in my documentation pretty much. So I have this vision that in the future, a new person which has Dyalog APL could download the latest PxEdit package from GitHub and read the short documentation, what you should do. Hopefully there is this documentation then. Copy the source code in one specific directory and copy the user commands needed for the environment and start doing it. So with not that nice what for example Kai was showing you, but some of the same idea that it's standardized environment in which they could be easy to look at the code. There might be this kind of problems in programming. So trying to figure out why this was named year 2004 like this might be okay. The idea is to improve readability. I think that's the most important thing in the code. So object naming, all the short names must go. They had to be replaced something understandable. I'm not showing how they are now. I can read them, you can't. Variable names, the same idea. Most of the global names will be collected in namespaces, so that CH, for example, stands for character constants, and then we have lang for language related issues, and so on and so on. And sysbits 64, which environment we are using. And then the naming has to be consistent, so that I can know that, okay, this is function, this is variable, and so on. And really using namespaces, lots of for the code collection, I'd like to show, so that it's in logical parts. And these things that I do all the time, I try to split those huge functions in smaller ones, so that and using namespaces for passing parameters. That's really nice feature which I found a couple of years ago. And in the commenting there are two strategies. Late Erkki Juvonen, Mr. APL in Finland, he said that you write in the first lines you write the commenting what comes in, what comes out. And then you can write, according to this information, you can rewrite the function if you don't understand what is happening there. And Paul Mansour is, which I really like the idea, you write the code so that you don't have to comment at all. Perhaps I do something in between. And then I have to create this programming environment so that I can kill the old darlings with what they are, old tools, or which are in quotes SE in session, or some of the old stuff that has followed me from APL 2 times on mainframe. And then Morten will be happy. I'm going to link and have everything in text files. And some concept I have of how to move my unit testing in some kind of environment so that it can be automated. And when everything is ready, it might be possible that I might be able to retire. And during that day, I will tell to my management that everything is ready and done. Yeah. And this is more or less what I think about programming and life and everything. Yes, all folks.